every event has some second guessing, maybe more. Uncommitted delegates stage sit-in after the DNC nixes speaker. Let's show you footage of this sit-in, more of it.
Our movement has real leaders who are in solidarity with us. I've got Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez on FaceTime here. Congresswoman, you have the floor.
I think it is critically important for us to send this message of shared humanity, and that the request isn't that large. It's important to emphasize that this is not even in any way an irrational thing to ask for. It's a basic thing to ask for. And I want to send a very strong message that we are mobilizing on the outside and to continue mobilizing on the outside, because that is also paired with a very strong inside push.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, right.
The Congresswoman is emphasizing that we're mobilizing on the outside because that's also paired with a very strong inside push. Thank you for your leadership, Congresswoman.
Of course, and I want everybody to know that being in the streets is important, and it is also being paired with pressure on the inside.
The Congresswoman is emphasizing what we as uncommitted delegates know, that being in the streets is important, and thankfully our movement is strong and it's being paired with pressure from the inside.
So there you heard it. AOC on the line, talking to these uncommitted delegates. Unity doesn't mean robots. It's not supposed to mean robots, right?
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Give you more of the story for Jezebel. Wednesday night, as the Democratic National Convention continued, the Uncommitted Movement announced that after several days of negotiations, both the Harris campaign and DNC denied the request for a Palestinian-American speaker. Per CNN, the group emerged during the Democratic presidential primary to marshal protest votes against the Biden administration support for Israel, for Israel's war on Hamas in Gaza after the October 7th terrorist attack. This is not going away. Delegates said in a statement, we got word from the DNC that they will not allow a Palestinian-American speaker on the main stage, even though they created space for plenty of others, like a border patrol officer and the family members of an Israeli hostage. The uncommitted delegates specifically asked the Harris campaign and DNC officials to allow Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan to speak and give voice to the Palestinian children she's treated in Gaza. Okay, she's been there. They wanted her to speak. Let's go to Tuesday. Haj Hassan telling reporters about the daily atrocities they face under Israeli bombardment. That Palestinians asked only one thing of her: to share what she witnessed with the world. Just a firsthand account. Earlier on Wednesday, the Uncommitted Movement said they provided the Democratic Party with a list of names of potential speakers and stand ready to provide more if needed. There is no reason not to get this done. Jezebel with the reporting again. Then on Wednesday evening at a press conference turned sit-in outside the United Center, Abbas Alawieh, delegate, leader of the Uncommitted Movement, telling reporters that the Harris campaign turned them down. He said, quote, the vice president made a decision, she and her team, and the answer is no. Where's this going to go? We were hopeful because Vice President Harris's team has been engaging with us, Alawieh continued. They've been calling, they've been having conversations, and we told them what our ask is. Jezebel reports this about what's been going on behind the scenes. He stressed that this particular ask for a Palestinian voice on stage doesn't concern a policy change, though they are still very much demanding that. Then they're only asking to be heard. Ahead of the convention, uncommitted delegates pledged to withhold their votes to nominate Kamala Harris until her campaign pledges to back a ceasefire and arms embargo to Israel. So that's the key. As CNN reports, besides the speaking slot, the movement's other asks, like an arms embargo against Israel, were also rejected out of hand by Democratic leaders. Now, Alawieh, a veteran Democratic staffer who's worked for both Representatives Rashad Tlaib out of Michigan, Cori Bush, Missouri, stressed that he's tried everything he could working on the inside to move the Democratic Party, speaking to, pleading with members of Congress, delegates, party leaders. After exhausting these options, he declared at the press conference he was staging the sit-in outside the United Center, invited delegates who felt so inclined to join him. I just intend to stay here until I get a call from the DNC telling me that they won't suppress the voices of Palestinian children, that they will accept our very humble request, he said. Sit-in began at around 8:30 p.m. local time. It continued throughout the night. Spokesperson for the Harris campaign now did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Jezebel on the extent of the campaign's involvement in negotiations for a Palestinian speaker or someone who could speak to Palestinians' experiences in Gaza. In a series of impassioned and at times tearful remarks to reporters, Alawieh recounted being a child, surviving the bombing during the Lebanon war between Israel and Hezbollah in 2006, before eventually coming to the United States. I could have been one of those children. President Biden, Vice President Harris, we're talking about babies, he said, pointing to the more than 16,000 Palestinian children in Gaza killed by Israeli forces since October. I'm leaning into my lived experience because that experience lends me some level of expertise. I know that our country's policy, sending bombs to kill kids, is wrong because I'm human and also because I've survived those bombs myself. Over the last 10 months, Israeli forces have killed over 40,000 Palestinians in Gaza with significant help from U.S. funding and weapons. Jezebel with the reporting there, the statistics, each one representing a human being. Over a dozen uncommitted delegates have since joined Alawieh. More continue to join. Representative Ilhan Omar stopped by after the third night of the convention concluded to express her support and embrace Alawieh, who was overcome with emotion. You see it there. Huffington Post now also reporting Lily Greenberg call on the left, former Biden administration official who resigned over its Gaza policy, also joined delegates and accused the president of weaponizing Jewish identity to justify the war machine. She was the first Jewish American political appointee to resign over the government's policy. First Biden political appointee to resign over Gaza, Tariq Abbas on the right, has also been a vocal supporter of the movement. Earlier Wednesday, the Uncommitted Movement shared a statement after learning Israeli hostages' families would speak on the main stage that night. We strongly support that decision, the statement said, and also strongly hope that we will also be hearing from Palestinians who've endured the largest civilian death toll since 1948. The delegates said they urged the Democratic Party to reject a hierarchy of human value by ensuring Palestinian voices are heard on the main stage. That statement continued, excluding a Palestinian speaker betrays the party's commitment in our platform to valuing Israelis and Palestinian lives equally. The difficulty in improving even a single Palestinian American speaker among the dozens of speakers on the convention stage sends a troubling message to our anti-war voters, suggesting they aren't truly included in this party. Give you more now from CNN, who's doing a lot of this reporting behind the scenes. And you wonder how much of this is emerging from the mainstream coverage. That's what people want to know. So CNN has this to say. The Democratic National Committee on Monday sanctioned a panel inside the formal convention perimeter about Palestinian and Arab issues. The group called it a small win, but continued to push for a more prominent stage. So there you have the reporting, a lot going on. Is it enough? And why not? Why wait to be asked is what I would say, Fran. The Democratic Party has put on really an incredible, you could feel it, it's palpable through the screen for those of us who aren't there watching it. It's a giant party and it's filled with some substance too, but why not? You must see this coming, right? And I don't just mean for political reasons, for human reasons. Why didn't they just pick someone to just, if you don't want to talk policy, talk about humanity. I don't understand it. I think it's a misstep.
Yeah, I think that's really well put, because that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying they've given multiple names to the DNC committee, to the Harris campaign, of who can speak, what they can speak on. Obviously, every single speech is vetted by this committee. There was a young woman who spoke about being by her stepfather. That is a hard thing to hear, but a necessary thing to hear if we're to truly understand the stakes in the election, especially when it comes to reproductive rights. Well, the same thing when it comes to war. What does it mean that we haven't been able to strike a ceasefire? What does it mean that 40,000 people have died? It means that Palestinians, both abroad and here in the United States, their family members are falling right before them, are in desperate need of medical aid, of food aid, are facing famine right now, are wasting away, because it's not just about stopping bombs. You have to stop the bombs if you want to get any food into the region in the first place. So this is critical. And honestly, let's remember that Uncommitted Delegates, Abbas Alawieh says he will vote for Kamala Harris, but this is a tool. This is a tool to say, please change course when it comes to Gaza and to this genocide. Please do something different. And if you're going to have a family member of an Israeli hostage, which sure, that's fine to do, but there are like 140 Israeli hostages, about who were taken initially, or something like this. Like, you're gonna put one of their family members up, but 40,000 Palestinians can be murdered, and you're not gonna even allow a single speaker? Ceasefire and a weapons embargo is incredibly popular with Democratic voters. And so if and when, and I hold out hope that they do allow a speaker 5 minutes to just talk about what it is, that Palestinians are human, that we wanna stop this bloodshed, that yes, we want a ceasefire, and yes, we want Kamala Harris to bring that to us. This is a message, like you said, you don't have to be a robot. This is still a message of unity. This is a big tent, and Arab and Muslim Americans and Palestinian Americans are part of that. So I really hope they change course on this. And I just think that, like, I'm not holding my breath, Sharon, but I'm so proud of the Uncommitted Delegates. Remember Tim Walz, now vice presidential nominee Tim Walz, said that he was proud of the uncommitted delegates in Minnesota, the uncommitted voters in Minnesota, his home state. He said we have to listen to them. So Tim Walz, can you listen to them?
Yeah, and I think you're right to point that out, because I think he's telling the truth about what he feels. And I think she believes that if it weren't from the advice of others and a delicate campaign, that they would speak. Yeah. I happen to believe, though, if you're going to be president of the United States, you can't shy away from these teetering events, these delicate events, and you don't want it to blow up into more. She probably believes as they do. And so giving people the access to the microphone, the view to America, right through their television screens, why not do it? I think it has to happen.
Yes, because right now, this is the story, Sharon. Sorry to interrupt you. We're doing the story. The story now is they will not allow a Palestinian to speak at the DNC. That's the story. So you got to change the narrative. If you want it to all be about joy and positivity, allow a Palestinian speaker. Tell us, Muslim people are some of the most joyful people on earth. Not that all Palestinians are Muslim, but you know what I mean. Don't be scared of humanizing Palestinians.
That's right. And like I said, it has to happen tonight. Go ahead and do it. Take it off the table. If this is about real change, and I believe, again, the candidates here, top of the ticket, VP nominee, they want a change. And just go, this is not radical, what they're asking for. They're being very decent. They're being very peaceful, of course, which is expected. Okay, people tend to stereotype and think, oh, they're good. No one's being radical here. They're saying we're human beings, and a lot of Americans who have nothing, they don't have relatives over there. They don't. They're not Palestinian. They don't know anyone, perhaps, who's Palestinian, which is a little hard to believe, but some people don't. Some people live in Iowa and other places, and they're not seeing some of the firsthand accounts. They're not hearing them. They care too. Killing has to stop. So I hope the campaign reverses course.